Hello, everybody. Chris Haggeseth here. Got a real interesting guest for you today. As you know, Bird Dogs Forever, the website, has hunting destinations listed all over the world. Among those destinations we have listed is hunting in Russia. And I happen to have the guy on the line who takes care of Russian hunting and fishing adventures. His name is Sergei Shushnov, and he works with a colleague over in Russia. Sergei actually is living in the United States right now, and he books travel for hunters that want to go to Russia and partake in the variety of game that's available there. While he does do big game and fishing, we're going to restrict our interview today to the bird hunting side of things. So, Sergei, welcome to the podcast. And
thank you.
You're welcome. A little bit about you, Sergei. How long have you been in the United States?
Oh, since 1981, so 25 years now, almost 25 years.
That's a good long time. Yeah. And you have family or friends back in Russia, and you can work with them, is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. My son studied in Russia 2 different semesters back around the time that everything changed over there. So his first year, he was in Leningrad in the Soviet Union, and the second year he was in Moscow in Russia.
Okay.
Everything changed. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm interested in you telling us, first of all, just about your company. What do you do with your Russian hunting adventures?
My company is called Russian Hunting Agency. I opened it in 1990. I have an office in St. Petersburg with staff, which takes care of all the ground operations.
Okay.
So they actually outfit my hunts. I travel to Russia about twice a year and take part in some of the hunts that I consider more important, more interesting.
Okay. Now, if I, as a bird hunter, want to go to Russia, do I understand correctly that there is some hunting in the spring as well as some hunting in the fall?
Absolutely.
Tell us about the spring hunting first, because that's different than what we have in North America.
Yes, spring hunting is unique in northern hemisphere and is unique to Russia. I don't know how long it is going to continue, but as of now, it's something that I think any bird hunter should experience, especially those bird hunters who belong to a category of collectors.
Okay.
Because that's the time to get the absolutely the best looking birds in the prime plumage.
Okay. Now, what kind of birds? First of all, let's do the upland birds. What kind of birds might they be hunting for in the spring?
It is limited to hunting for trophies. It's a trophy hunt. Capercaillie grouse, black grouse, and woodcocks.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about each of these? Let's start out with the capercaillie.
Capercaillie is the largest grouse in the world. Some of the birds can reach the size of turkey, and average size turkey, they may weigh 10, 20, and 10, 12, maybe 14 pounds sometimes.
Wow, that's twice as big as our native sage grouse in North America. That's a huge bird.
It is a huge bird, and not easy to hunt in the spring. The bird has extremely keen senses, especially sight and hearing, and is very elusive. So the spring hunt, when you can get the best trophy, is actually very difficult. And it's not a volume shooting hunt. You can go and take 1 or 2 birds probably within a 5-6 day period, no more than that. It will be difficult to get more than that.
Okay.
Number of licenses is restricted, and each license is issued for a single bird. Black grouse is also in the spring is a hunt for males only, so that females can participate in reproduction. They usually mate with more than one male, so if there are fewer males in a certain population of bird, it doesn't affect the strength of the population in the future.
Okay. Now, how big will one of these black grouse? How big will these black grouse?
Black grouse is about maybe up to 4 pounds.
Okay.
It's maybe slightly bigger than spruce grouse.
Okay.
maybe by 30% bigger.
Now, what techniques do you use in hunting capercaillie and your black grouse?
Capercaillie has to be stalked. That's about the only way to hunt them during the springtime.
Okay.
The male birds gather during the mating period at the places called leks,
Right.
where they try to attract females for mating. Lek could be anywhere from half a mile to a mile in diameter. It may have from a few to a few dozen male birds.
Okay.
They start singing their mating song somewhere during the night, and by the time the sun is up, they usually leave the mating place. They fly away. They arrive somewhere around midnight and stay on the mating place around until 6. That's the only time you can hunt them. And you have to stalk them during the dusk time because it's impossible to approach them in the full light in the morning. So usually hunt starts at around 1 or 2 a.m. and it's probably over by 4 a.m. One way or another. Either hunter takes the trophy or the hunt is over because it's too late.
Now, is this a time when your sky is pitch black?
Or you start in absolute blackness.
Okay.
And hopefully by the time you're within a shooting distance from the bird, which you can frequently detect only by hearing the song. You know where the sound originates from.
Okay.
And you kind of realize that it's close. You still can't see it. And sometimes you have to wait until you recognize the contours. So there might be some dusk there. Just
okay.
Kind of very, very hazy, very gray.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting hunt. Now that
you have to use it. You have to use a 12-gauge shotgun only because using a small caliber rifle sometimes doesn't give you good opportunity to shoot because you shoot at the silhouette of the bird, which sometimes you have to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because it blends completely with the branches of the trees. Usually it sits on the pine tree.
Okay, so you're shooting at the silhouette of the bird. Huh. Now that is remind me again, I got off track here. This is the black grouse now or the capercaillie?
This is capercaillie.
Capercaillie. Now how about the black grouse? How do you hunt them?
Black grouse mate on cranberry bogs very frequently. They usually select one of the bogs early in the spring, sometime in the end of March, early April. Guides see where the birds start concentrating, and they put blinds made from the local material, so that birds get used to those blinds. And when this hunting season opens, which usually happens in late April, early May, hunters have to use those blinds. Usually they have to arrive to the mating place before the birds arrive. Birds arrive, the black grouse arrive to the mating place somewhere around 4 a.m. Females are usually come first, and they act as scouts. So by that time, the hunter has to be sitting in the blind tight.
And very quiet.
Moving and making any noise.
Okay.
So within half an hour, females arriving, whom is very hard to spot because they blend with the environment. Males will come, and males are easier to spot. They're just spectacular-looking birds. Their feather is black, white, and with the red eyebrows, and it's just spectacular.
Okay. How about the woodcock now in the spring? How do you hunt them?
Woodcock is my favorite, actually. It's hunted in the evening, late evening, just around the time of sunset, when males fly around looking for females to mate. Females sit very tight on the ground, and the males fly at up to 50 feet altitude looking for a mate, making very specific, easy to recognize sound. But the shooting is very challenging because in their flight they change direction very unexpectedly.
Yes.
In a horizontal or in a vertical plane.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, because it happens in the dusk, sometimes you have only a short window of opportunity to spot the bird. So it makes it very, very challenging shooting.
I understand. How many woodcock might a hunter take legally?
Well, you can expect to shoot maybe 2-3 birds in each evening.
Okay.
Usually there is no time to shoot more than that. This hunt lasts maybe 45 minutes each evening.
Okay. Now, do I understand that dogs are prohibited from being in the forest at that time of year?
Yes, during the mating season, when bird nest, the dogs cannot be taken to the forest either for hunting or for training.
Okay. Now let's switch over to the fall hunt. We've just discussed the spring hunt. Tell me about the fall hunt for these three species of upland game birds once again.
The fall hunt starts for capercaillie and black grouse at the same time, usually around the end of August in the regions that are located towards the south, and probably early September in the regions that are located in the north.
Okay.
And it's a hunt for younger birds who are very inexperienced. Majority of the birds are young and inexperienced. They're still gathered in flocks, and they're not afraid of human or a dog, and allow frequently a hunter with a pointer to come relatively within a relatively short distance. So this is a very unique hunt. I don't think it exists anywhere else in Europe.
Now that juvenile capercaillie, is that still a 6 or 7 pound bird?
Juvenile capercaillie, yes, it probably weighs no more than 5-6 pounds. Yes.
Okay, good sized bird.
Yeah, and during this time you can hunt both capercaillie, the males and females.
Yes.
There's a bag limit which is very generous.
And what is that?
To be honest, I'm not aware. Just.
But what, 3 or 4 birds or something?
Yeah, but it's a mixed bag, so you can get 3 or 4 of this, 3 or 4 of that. There are other birds available, such as hazel grouse in the European part of Russia.
Okay.
Bearded grouse or Siberian spruce grouse.
All right. Now, and then is the woodcock also hunted in the fall?
Woodcock is hunted in the fall. The best time is when it starts migrating in mass.
Okay.
From the northern tundra.
Okay.
And that period lasts anywhere from about 20th of September until about 15th or 20th of October, all depending on the weather. And the hunt could be great. I mean, the hunter can expect on the best day up to 25, 30 flashes a day.
Oh, boy. Wow. Now, do you also hunt ptarmigan or not?
Yes, you can hunt ptarmigan, but to have a good hunt, you have to travel to the north and the Arctic regions.
Right, of course. Okay, now tell me about the dogs that you hunt with. I'm interested, of course. Are there any specific, unique Russian breeds of dogs that you use?
The only unique pointing dog that I'm aware of is called Russian Spaniel. This is a relatively recent breed that was introduced maybe about 50 or so years ago.
Okay.
I don't know the origin of the breed. I think it has in it Springer Spaniel and Brittany, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, but it does point.
Yes, it's about the size of slightly bigger than a Springer Spaniel, and it's a good pointing dog, very sturdy dog.
Does it have a long and wavy coat, or what's its fur like?
It's long and wavy, yes.
Okay.
But it's a slimmer dog than, let's say, Brittany.
Okay, now, do I understand you're saying that back during perestroika and so on, that the number of hunting dogs in the country diminished?
Absolutely. It probably dropped to almost non-existence. In fact, it was a time you couldn't even find a good pointing dog. And part of it was due to the fact that people lived in a very hard economic environment, and breeding, training, maintaining dog was not a priority for anybody. People tried to survive. Many still didn't have decent living conditions, staying in overcrowded apartments. So now economy has been doing well, and people again went back to breeding sport dogs.
What are the most common breeds of sport dogs other than this Russian Spaniel you mentioned?
They may not necessarily be bird dogs. Is it of interest?
No. My interest is in what are the bird dogs that are used in your hunts?
Other birds that are popular would be German pointers, either short hair or wire hair.
Okay.
English and Irish setters.
Okay. Do you see any Labradors over there?
Labradors are not very popular. I think you see them only as pets.
Okay.
I don't think anybody uses them for hunting.
Isn't that interesting? They're so common in North America, as you probably know. Now let's move on to the waterfowl hunting opportunities that exist over there with your operation.
Well, Russia is a very interesting destination, primarily because of the variety of birds you can hunt, a number of birds you can see. Russia has 12 species of geese
Mm-hmm.
and 39 species of ducks.
Wow.
Well, I have to mention here that some of them are protected. For example, red-throated goose
Okay.
is, considered to be under the threat of extinction, so it
Ooh.
definitely cannot be hunted.
Of course.
So do other ducks. Nevertheless, there are still some interesting species for collectors that hunters cannot find anywhere in Europe or in North or South America.
I'm going to mention to our listeners right now, I'm on your website, and
Okay.
to our listeners, you can get to Sergei's website by going to www.russianhunting.com. If you happen to forget that, or if that's too hard, go to my Bird Dogs Forever site, go to Hunting Destinations, click on Russia, and you'll find a link to him there. I'm on his site right now, and he has a number of pictures of these various species of birds that we've just been talking about. And so you'll have the opportunity to see not only what the birds look like, but also some of the terrain. So I encourage you to go to Sergei's website and take a look at these pictures, because they're all very good. Okay, in hunting the ducks and geese, what are the techniques that are used?
Well, geese are usually hunted either from trenches or blinds.
Okay.
There are some very good destinations, and probably some of the best require helicopter transfers.
Oh my, yes.
Well, there are places like that in Canada, so you shouldn't be surprised.
Well, I guess not.
If you want to have a good goose hunt, you have to get away from people as far as possible. There's a large number of very devoted goose hunters in Russia, and some of them have enough money to allow them to take sometimes month and a half long vacation during the migration season. And again, unlike in many other countries, spring season is open in Russia. So those hunters, they usually in the spring season start in very southern parts of Russia and move on their trucks with the flocks all the way to the Arctic. So they call on a cell phone ahead to the lodges they know and ask if the geese are arriving, and they move on. They spend their vacation like that. They're absolutely crazy people.
Well, of course, most hunters are. I'm just amazed that you have a spring waterfowl hunt as well as fall. That's
yeah. I think this is something that has been a very old tradition. I'm not sure if it's going to change anytime soon, because government hunting control organization has not been well put together or well managed. There are not many specialists left. I mean wildlife biologists.
right.
Working for the government. All of them went to private business, organizing hunts, and so on. But I think if there is enough international pressure, and maybe perhaps government has enough money to hire well-trained people, things will probably change. I don't know when. Maybe within 10, 20 years it's going to be banned. I don't know.
Okay.
It will be sad for many people. I think it will be very good for birds.
That makes sense to me. Now, tell me about the availability of shotguns in Russia. What do you have to do to get one, and how if you own it, what do you do with it?
Well, if you're a Russian citizen, you can legally buy shotgun without any problems. You have to belong to a hunting organization such as hunting club, and have a membership that you can show to a special detachment of a local police.
Okay.
Which handles gun permits. So this office will check hunters or prospective hunters' criminal background,
Mm-hmm.
and give a clearance. Hunter also has to get clearance from a local psychiatrist.
They have to get their head examined by the local shrink.
Yes, they have to meet a shrink and get an exam. Yes. Well, I think sometimes it makes sense.
Yeah. Well.
To be honest. So getting the permit is a lengthy process, can take several weeks, but uniformly, anybody without a criminal record or medical record indicating there's a behavioral issue
Mm-hmm.
will get a permit. So permit allows to buy any shotgun, either a single, double barrel, or semi-automatic, and a hunter can have as many as 5.
As many as 5. Can they keep them in their homes, or do they have to store them at a club?
If there is more than one shotgun, they're obliged to buy steel safe.
Okay, but then they can keep it within their home.
Yes.
Okay. Just while we're on the subject of guns, how about rifles, which are a whole different matter?
Okay, rifles can be purchased after 5 years belonging to a hunting club and owning a shotgun.
Okay.
And there are plenty of different models.
How difficult is it to buy a handgun in Russia?
Nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible.
Yes, you have to be certified like a bodyguard or security agent, something like that.
I see.
Private security to buy one.
Are there many hunters?
And it can be only Russian-made pistol. There is no legal importation of foreign handguns.
Okay. So now, a North American hunter shows up with your organization in St. Petersburg to go hunting. What do they do in order to get a shotgun to use?
Well, they have to send us information indicating model, make, serial number, and gauge of the weapon.
Oh, so they can bring their own gun in?
Oh, yeah. We will apply for a gun permit with the local police department.
I see.
And that gun permit will be stored at the customs, waiting for the arrival of the hunter. The custom officer, along with the police at the airport, is responsible for clearing a shotgun upon entry to Russia.
But now my question, Sergei, is do we have to have a psychiatrist verify that we're okay before we come into Russia?
No, they presume that people who bring shotguns to Russia are relatively sane.
Okay. Are there any parts of this that we have not touched on that you would like our listeners to know about?
Besides those species that we discussed, there are many other interesting birds that could be hunted in Russia and nowhere else.
Okay.
I could mention just a few.
Go ahead.
For example, there's a bird called ular, U-L-A-R.
Mm-hmm.
U-L-A-R,
okay.
Actually.
Mm-hmm.
There are 5 species of ular. It's the other name of this bird is snowcock.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
I think it's been introduced in the United States a number of years ago. One of my friends who also is a hunter who lives in Idaho told me that ular has been introduced in Idaho.
Is that right?
I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
But it's a very elusive solitary bird, which is very hard to spot and to hunt. It lives an altitude of about 5, 7, 10,000 feet in the crevices in the very rocky terrain. If you like it to shoot one bird during 5-day period, it's probably the most you can do.
That's pretty stressful hunting.
It's a trophy hunt, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
For collectors. Okay.
Anything else you would like our listeners to know about?
Well, I think we covered most of it.
Okay.
Most of the, at least, important subjects.
Okay. Well, Sergei, I thank you so much for your time and the information. The information's outstanding. Hey, everybody. This is pretty interesting stuff, I think. Obviously, this is an upscale hunt. Most of us who have a hard time scraping money to get together to get to South Dakota won't be able to take a hunt in Russia. Yet again, there are some hunters that are pretty well heeled. And this might be just the kind of thing that causes you to say, hey, I might want to get one of those interesting trophy birds, especially for people who have bagged all the North American species of upland game birds. So give Sergei's website a check and see what you think. And if any of you out there go hunting in Russia, call me. I want to interview you for the podcast for people to hear more about it. Because the vast majority of us won't hunt there, but it sure is fun to hear about it, isn't it? So until again, this is Chris Hagaseth signing off and saying До свидания.